recording. Okay, so yeah, welcome back. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy holidays.
Merry White Baby Jesus Christmas.
White Baby Jesus Christmas. Christ Stick Christmas, whatever. If you're Jewish, that's what you guys call those trees. So yeah, this is we're gonna do another bonus episode. This one we're gonna be talking about Louie C.K. over the holidays. Louie C.K. I guess he did a set that was recorded at a comedy club or an open mic where he talked about transgendered people. And how, you know, people are picking their identity. He talked about the shooting at what's the name of
the
Parkland shooting?
In front of the Parkland protesters.
Yes, the kids, the high school kids. So we're gonna deal with that with 25 minutes. B Black and I. So okay, so let's I'm gonna start the clock in 1, 2 now. Okay, so yeah, so he was a lot of people are outraged. There was a lot of articles. Comics are on one side, usually, right? And comics are on the other. It also kind of falls in line. We talked about Kevin Hart, but this is the new thing. I guess a lot of people who are upset about his comments. I don't remember the comments exactly. I really don't think it matters. He did some jokes that people felt were insensitive towards transgendered people as well as
sensitive asshole-ish towards transgender people
and the Parkland shooting. So yeah. So I don't know. What do you think?
Can we start out just so to establish that because right now there's a bunch of listeners. The pro Louie C.K. folks are gonna listen to us like, "Oh, you guys are just being a bunch of bitches, snowflakes, and blah blah blah."
Yeah.
Okay, and all that. I don't acknowledge that Louie C.K. used to be a personal hero of mine.
Yeah.
When back in the days when he did that being white is awesome joke.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one of those things I have been able to explain to a white person, but it took a white person to explain to other white people, and finally it became a concept. I also loved him when he stuck it to the man and started selling his own content online for $5.
Yeah.
Basically, he cut out the middleman. And that used to be a personal war of the music industry. So I'm establishing that, yes, I get, I used to be a fan of Louie C.K.'s humor. But afterwards, then he started doing some fuckboy shit, and it just went downhill.
I don't think he started. I think he always was. But, like, here's the thing. Why are people upset? Like, why are people upset?
So, okay, one of the jokes that he made was all
that stuff. But I mean, like, what is the anger on the other side? What are they saying?
The other side feels like Louie C.K. is another victim of political correctness.
Well, he
can't say what he wants to say.
Okay, here's my problem with some of this is
break it down.
Louie C.K. has always been an honest comic, right? That was the brand that he analyzes himself. Louie C.K. came out a year ago and said, yes, he coerced women into to jerk off in front of. And a lot of people are like, well, they had a choice. But then Pete Davidson came out recently and said that Louie C.K. on the set of Saturday Night Live went up to Lorne Michaels and tried to get him fired by saying he smokes weed. He said he smoked too much weed. He tried to get. He was like, "This kid's not going to have a career if he keeps smoking the same amount of weed." He tried to get him fired.
Motherfucker. He went out said, yeah.
So to me, that's a case of Louie using his power to get what he wants. So the coercion is very real. Like if these women are like, "Hey, I'm going to lose a job if I don't let this guy jerk off in front of me." So to me, that kind of eliminates that. Uh-huh. So, in a way, it's like when Louie C.K. talks about this stuff on stage, he's being honest. So, before it was funny, but it's also now you go, oh, he's being honest. My other side of it is, who's really making a stink about this?
Where's the outrage?
Who? Because I know when people hear about it, they're upset about it, but who's making the initial stink?
Right. I had one person, and like this person whose opinion I respect to a certain degree, but she looked at it as, by censoring Louie, this is like the end of comedy.
But who's censoring Louie?
Who's censoring? Good point. So what really happened is his set was leaked. It came out, and people reacted to it. So that reaction,
that's not censoring.
Is being interpreted as him being censored.
That's not censoring, right? Because there was
point.
people offended with Louis on the other side when Louis had a perspective that people when people didn't know who Louis was, there was people that were who found him offensive on the other side. Like Louis has always been a kind of borderline offensive comic, right? Like he's always been that guy that pushes envelopes, but it's his perspective that pushes it through, right? Like his perspective of being kind of left wing, where he could talk. Well, he was very left wing. You could talk about jerking off or white privilege and stuff. So you like, oh yes, absolutely, Louis is hilarious because we know he's a good person coming from a good place, a good person based on our standards of good person, right?
Our
standards of good person, which include not sexually harassing women, right? So, but like this is what I don't understand. Okay, for you're saying censorship, but I don't understand. He admitted to using his power to jerk off in front of women.
Yeah. And
less than a year later, he's back in one of the best comedy. Wait a second, he's back in one of the best comedy clubs in the world. Where is he being censored?
Right.
I don't understand where he's being censored. Like, where's the censorship?
So here's the problem. I think this is the part where the opposers, the people who would have to answer that question. But you're right. I started reading think pieces by people who are supporting Louis. But I don't see the censorship.
This is just personal taste. This is what this is. This is personal taste. This has nothing to throw censorship and free speech and all that into it is just now you're conflating an idea with another idea. Like people can be offended by comedy. That's a fair game. That's how it works.
Right. That's how it works. I compare edgy comics to those people in Russia who take videos of themselves hanging off a building and shit like that. Okay, well, it's cool when you pull it off, but it's not when you fall from that fucking building. I think that's what edgy comedy is. It's like you're walking on a tightrope, right? And you fuck it up, and then you got a bunch of people who are like, "Yo, that dude should be fired."
It's also like Dave Chappelle said, that's when he got criticism. He's like, "That's the game." Like even Chappelle said, "That's how it is." It's also these people that scream about freedom of speech also like to scream about the marketplace and the marketplace of ideas. It's like the marketplace. Like this is Jordan Peterson's perfect example of this. He's always talking about outcome equality is bad, but then he's on Joe Rogan advocating that women should be forced to be with incels. Well, are you looking for? So you don't want socialism until it helps your audience.
Until it helps your audience,
right? You want forced monogamy when it helps your audience. And this is the problem. It's like you want the marketplace of ideas, but when the marketplace of ideas doesn't want your idea, you're screaming freedom of speech. You have to pick one. You can't have both. It's either the marketplace works or it doesn't.
when Omar Little, shout out to the Wired fans out there, said every man's gotta have a code. Yeah. What he should have said is a man's gotta have a code that makes sense. You know what I mean? So what you're saying is, with respect to Jordan Peterson, is on one end he's advocating one theology, and on the other end he's contradicting himself. Well, I'm
using
that works for me.
I'm using Jordan Peterson as the example. I'm saying they all use this idea of free speech.
That's what I'm saying.
In the marketplace. And the other thing about this Louie C.K. thing is what I find incredible is he's not being censored because as soon as he steps on stage, it's like fucking world news. It's completely the opposite of censorship.
Right. Yo, that's what gets me is Canadian comics too, who are going to bat for this guy. Yeah. Not realizing that, even in his current state, he's doing a lot better than way all of us. Yeah. You know what I mean? He gets on stage, he gets attention. He's he's on headline. He's Googled all over. The machine still has his back. When I say the machine, I mean the marketing, whatever.
Well, the system is he still has value. He still has capital. Exactly. He still has more capital than us.
I'm talking shit on a podcast. No one cares.
And I guarantee he's gotten more capital after that stuff with women. He's gotten more capital from that, right? Because he's still in the news and he's still got he has more social capital now. It's just different social capital, and he's playing the other side now. I read some of those jokes and I'm like, the transgender one, it wasn't even, it was hacky. It was just a hacky old man joke.
low hanging fruit. The way I've been studying this thing, reading about this thing is I'm going to use the word non-binary people, and I think that just covers the whole transgender, whatever I want to use, right? And the way I see it, their struggle is they're trying to explain to people, hey, look, I was born in one body, but I feel like I should be something else. Instead of trying to understanding that feeling, we're over here making fun of them. And then Louie C.K. just jumps in and be part of the, hey, fuck you and your pronouns and shit like that. Like, they're human beings who are trying to, to be they just want to be understood. And instead we're like, bullying? Well, instead we're like making fun of them. It's like, they want the same understanding we have, but instead of giving them that, we're like, fuck y'all.
But see, B, that's you're absolutely right, but that's too deep for this conversation. Because this isn't about I
guess for me that's what bothered me about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Low-hanging fruit joke.
Even that's too deep for that joke. The joke is like an old man hacky boomer joke that you put on Facebook. Yeah. It's a boomer fucking Facebook meme with it's a terrible old joke. Like if he had a better joke than that, I would be like, the joke is first of all it's offensive to people, but it's also a shitty joke. But even in that, people are allowed to be offended by shit. I don't understand where this is like people are upset about people not being. That's it's like artists. These people want to be artists, but they don't want to create shit. They don't want to walk that line. They want to be edgy. They want to be artists, but they don't want to deal with the consequences of overstepping the line. And it's not even them. It like when you look at comics complain about it, you're looking at people who are upset that this could happen to them, or they're defending their idol. And it's like, okay, great. I like Louie C.K. too, but I mean, come on, you got to admit that joke shit. How fucking, it's not censorship for people to be offended. It's not censorship. You're not free from consequence. Even Louie said that. Even Louie said that in an interview. You're not free from consequence.
You're not free for even he gets that.
Yeah,
he hasn't responded or said anything about that. That's even on one of the messages where I said I've heard everyone's response to this leaked audio except the one from Louie C.K. Yeah, and I had a few people like, what do you want him to say? He's got nothing to say. He doesn't have to apologize.
Yeah, well, why was he? My other problem is was he working on material?
See, okay, I will give him this, and what's his name, Doug Stampo, the comedian. Yeah. His outrage was at the fact that this dude was trying material.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone, I think it's Pete Davidson, by the way, the guy from SNL. Someone recorded it and leaked the audio to the internet. So I get he's a new comic. I mean, not a new comic. He's a comic trying out material, but.
No, I said that from the get-go. My wife and I had a bit of a debate on it too. I'm like, well, what you do in an open mic shouldn't be put on the internet.
Right.
No one should be judged on what you do in an open mic. That's the art isn't finished.
Agreed. But the one thing that agreed. But if the final outcome, the final product of Louie C.K. is I'm going to try to make money off these alt-right types, like someone took offense to me saying, Trump supporters are going to start loving his material. Mm-hmm. And what they didn't, what I was trying to say is that Trump supporters love the kind of jokes that hurt minorities' feelings, but not theirs. Yeah. Or it's like, that's, I love it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Talk shit about the Mexicans. Talk shit about the women. Say shit that's going to make other people upset because I just love it.
But Louie always had that audience.
He's always had that audience?
Yeah, he's straddled that audience. He's been he's a regular in Opie and Anthony.
Oh shit, right.
He's always had that audience. It's like we think that he was like this left-wing renegade, but he's always had an audience. All those jerk-off jokes are for that audience. They might not like the white privilege jokes, but they love the jerk-off jokes. And that's what made him really good, is that he could move those jokes into that audience where they go. He could play both sides of those audience, but he always had that audience. He always had
that audience. Did you remember that child molester joke that he made on SNL?
No. Oh, yes, I remember that one.
Okay, how did you respond to that one?
I thought it was funny.
I thought it was not just funny, but clever. But also, it also an insight into like we always judge molesters as just being bad people, but the psychology to it, like he touched. Anyways, my point is, I was on the side of saying, yeah, no, fuck that. I think you should not have censored him. That joke was genius. I think it's going to lead to a better understanding of why people choose to molest kids. But I remember being on the side of, hey, no censorship. Don't, fuck you people in your PC shit and blah, blah, blah. Now I'm on the side because he did a joke that I did not like. Now I can understand the Louie C.K. fans who are like, who can accept that. But it's the Louie C.K. fans who are attacking me, or not attacking me, but acting like I'm a bad person for not liking his jokes.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Is like, this is the problem with these freedom of speech people and all this shit. Is there's no nuance. Like, there's got to be nuance. You can't just say everything this person does is great. Mm-hmm. And you can't say everything he does is bad. I mean, like, him as a person, like, you can look at his perspective now and go, oh my fucking God. This guy, like, that Pete Davidson stuff, along with everything else, changes things for me where it's like, oh, he's a bit of a prick. Like, you're trying to get people fired, or like, he's willing to use his power to, like, so when you look at, like, that $5 thing and everything, it's like, well, how honest are you with all that shit? Are you just playing an audience? Like, you know what I mean? But that being said, it's like there's nuance in things. Like the child molester joke is still a good joke because it makes us question and talk about a subject that we don't talk about. It's also a good joke because it's like, yeah, well, what is wrong with these people as opposed to they're just evil. End of story. It's but it at the same time, everything has nuance. It's like, can we analyze? Can as a comic, like any comic defending that fucking transgender joke is like a shit comic to me. Like, it's just like fine, let him say the joke. That's great, but listen to the joke. It's like a shitty hack joke. It's like it's a boomer meme.
Well, it depends. If you're on the side of the people who are like, ooh, non-binary people scare me, or non-binary people are
take out the meaning of the joke. Take out the complete meaning of the joke. Like, take out what he's trying to say and just listen to the mechanics of the joke. It's an old man shitty Facebook meme. It's not a good joke. It's a joke. A dude at his level should not be. Hang on. It's a joke from a dude at his level that he shouldn't be doing. No one should be paying to see a joke like that. That being said, it was him working on material, so I can't. But that joke is a bad joke, and everyone should be like, "Nah, that's a bad joke. That's a terrible joke." That's how a comic should respond to that and go, "Ugh, he's really falling down. Like, that's not even clever." That's a joke you hear when fucking like amateurs will make.
There we go.
Edgy amateurs make jokes like that.
Right. I'm old and I'm scared of change. Actually, it reminds me of.
It's not even. Look, I'm taking out the type of person that makes the joke. I'm taking out all the subtext of the joke. I'm talking about the mechanics of the actual joke. That's it. Just the mechanics of that joke. Is a bad written joke. It's a hacky written joke. It's any amateur, whether they're old or young or whatever. It is an old man boomer joke, but it's so overdone. It's been done for you. It's like you ever see comics talk about taking the bus and they do a bit on taking the bus. It's like it's such an overused joke. It's like it's such a hack fucking joke that someone at that level shouldn't be making that joke.
Right.
Based on the product, it's a bad product. But again, he was working on material, right? In an open mic.
I see it. Yeah. You're analyzing this as a senior comic.
No, I'm just breaking it all down in terms of like when comics are defending his right to say stuff. It's like, okay, but you can admit that's a shit joke. If you can't admit that's a shit joke, then you're being disingenuous.
I feel you're gonna bother the people that, hey, I'm entitled to my own opinion, all right?
Yeah, that's fine. They can have their own opinion. I'm just saying, it's like these comics are like, you fucking Louie is the great. It's like, come on, you know that joke shit. You know everything he said there. Like even the joke where he's talking about how these guys, the people the shooting weren't special or everything. It's like, okay, it really didn't go anywhere. The conversation for comics should be, they shouldn't have recorded him in an open mic because those jokes aren't finished. A and B, I got to step out of this one because these are regular people, and also he brought this attention on himself. So he's a famous person. as much as I'm as a comic that shouldn't be recorded. His capital comes from this. Like, this is going to benefit him, not harm him. So it's his capital still, even though they recorded him in an open mic, it's still going to help him out. It's not going to be. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, we mean like his career won't be hurt by this shit.
No, but I mean, this is the byproduct of this. Is like everyone's like someone like Doug Stanhope is saying, well, they shouldn't record him in an open mic, and he's right. But at the same time, is like Louie C.K. now has the attention of everybody. So when you have the attention of everybody, you don't have hardcore comedy fans just who understand the rules of how comedy works. You have everybody. The CBC's writing an article on him. You have everybody watching. So you have a lot of people who are not comedy fans who don't know how open mics work, who are just, and this is what happens when your capital raises. He's beyond the point of stand-up comedy. He's bigger than that. When a guy who sexually assaulted women, coerced them into watching him jerk off, and that was a big news story, suddenly comes back, he has to expect that all of this is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's not just it's not just the jerking off for the women. It's also the whole, when women would talk about it, hey, this dude did that, they were like, hey, how dare you talk about Louie C.K. like that?
Yeah, but what I mean is yeah, all of that. But what I mean is he's bigger than a stand-up. He's not they're not looking at him as a stand-up comic. They're looking at him as Louie C.K. that just went through this thing. Louie C.K. who just went through this thing is now back in the spotlight. This is capital. This is how the system works.
Yeah, man. I gotta shout out Alex Wood for this one. He goes, you know what you should have done? You should have jerked off in front of black chicks, and we wouldn't have a problem with all this shit.
Yeah, no one would care.
That was a reference to R. Kelly. Like, I was trying to make an R. Kelly joke in here, because R. Kelly's also in the news, and I'm wondering whether these two are working together to distract the audience from their problems. Well, I might have made some outright jokes, but R. Kelly kidnapped these chicks. And R. Kelly. Well,
I'm just saying this. Like all of this is like he's being analyzed not as a stand-up comic.
He's being analyzed not as a stand-up comic.
He's being analyzed as a public figure that jerked off in who lost his career and came back because he jerked off in front of a whole bunch of women. R. Kelly is not a singer anymore.
Right.
He's a fucking child molester.
He's a cult leader, man. Holy shit! I'm going for the documentary, but that's another story.
But that's how. But this is the problem with comics looking at this. They're looking at Louie C.K. in a vacuum. They're looking at him like they look at themselves. It's like, it's not like Louie C.K. fucking nothing happened. He is now a guy who lost his career because he jerked off in front of a whole bunch of women.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's not Louis. He's not a comic. He is this now. Any of his capital. It's like just imagine Bill Cosby went on stage after he got out of prison. How do you think people are going to react to Bill Cosby being on stage after? They're going to look at him and he's Bill Cosby, the rapist.
Bill Cosby, exactly. That's the I see what you're saying. Yes. Fuck. I'm looking for a word here. The capital, I guess that's what you said.
Yeah, that's his capital.
You have as a comedian.
But you see, it's all capital because that's the media has made money off of Louie C.K. as the comedian, but they make more money off of Louie C.K. the fucking sexual assaulter.
Yeah. Okay.
He's always, no matter where he goes, no matter what he says, he can't work on open mics because it will always be some fucking thing.
I was going around telling people that when Louie C.K. is back to making jokes for drink tickets, then I'll start feeling sorry for him. It's done.
It's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for a very long time.
Yeah. Okay, we're getting close. I was going to ask you, is he on your top? Has he ever been on your top 5 or top 10 list?
Yeah, he's one of my favorite comics, right? But like I know Louie C.K. Yeah, because I'm thinking because I don't know any other specials but the ones I watched.
Okay.
Like personally, I don't think he's a good person, but as a comic,
okay.
I think he's a good comic. I also think Bill Cosby's a good comic.
Gotcha. The art from the artist,
right? But like but as a person, fuck no. Am I going to put more money into their pockets? Absolutely not.
he was great until I heard him drop the N-bomb.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You know
With that, what do you think of that?
Look, I get there's black people who are like cool, who can tolerate, white people saying the word nigger. I'm not one of them, and I'm not making any apologies for that shit.
When I watch that video and I watch Chris Rock, who's again one of my favorite comics.
I'm like about the Chris Rock. I'm talking about the one with the one he did on Opie and Anthony when there.
Yeah. And he did it with Chris. He did it with Chris Rock. I was just like, I was like, you're not making it easier for me. Now I got to deal with fucking. I'm not a cool guy because I don't tolerate that shit.
You can't come to the black people meeting talking about, hey, can we invite Louie C.K. to our next meeting? What the fuck?
I think if you're black and you're in a certain, like, you get to a certain, like, say you make $1 million, you get to that percentage, you can't give out the N-word to people. You're not allowed to let white people. You lose that right to give out barbecue invites. They can't. Cookout invites. You're not allowed. You can't give it out. Your price point, because okay, Louis C. He's Chris Rock might have been in an uncomfortable situation, but I'm sure he's got $500,000 that he can just brush it off with. Patrice's situation is a little different. Patrice is not rich, and I think and I'm not trying to make an excuse, but you're in a situation where you're like, how do I play this off? And I can't crawl into Patrice's head.
Right.
Patrice is also against he's a free speech advocate.
Yes.
And it's like, what do you do as a comic? Comics have this thing where we want to be cool to comics. Mm-hmm. That's what you're seeing with all these people defending Louis as comics. We want to be cool. We want to be seen as like invulnerable. Like we're not bitches. We're not fucking soft. We're not, we just. And so, like, to be in a room where someone does that and you're like, what am I going to turn this interview into? Hey, don't say that shit.
Am I going to be the cuck in the room? Am I going to be the snowflake bitch in it?
And again, but Patrice wasn't even that kind of guy, too. I'm sure he would have said something. Maybe it just didn't mean shit to Patrice. I don't know.
Good point.
But again, I don't know, man. Like the Chris Rock one, I'm like, you're priced out of giving out that word to people,
bro. One of my biggest fear is being on camera where white people are using the N word and they're laughing and I'm laughing with them. Like a video of me, like that. Hey, black people are watching this shit. Please knock it out.
and Louis has no fear in saying it either, so he says it all the time.
Yeah.
He doesn't, and Seinfeld, who was like previously hated by all millennials, comes off as the best person in the world just by going, nah, I have no interest in finding what's funny about that.
Yeah. Fuck that shit.
Yes, nah, I'm good.
I grew up in New York. Fuck that shit.
I don't need that shit. No thanks.
I've heard Combat Jack try to get white people to say the N-word on his show. I don't know why he does that.
And then when Chris Rock is talking about it, what does he mean by Louis C.K.'s the niggerest niggery you've ever met? Like, what does he mean by that? Think about what he means by that, because you know what he means by that.
He don't give a fuck.
He's basically like what every joke they make. Just imagine a black president, blah blah blah. He would eat chicken, and he thinks of him as like that's a class as well as a race thing. He's looking at him like, oh, he's a white trash, but he acts more black than he does white.
He acts more black than he acts.
Yeah,
white.
he said he's probably late for meetings. He probably sleeps in. He smokes a lot. You know what I mean? That's what he means by that. Well, think about Chris Rock, black people versus niggers. That's what he means by that.
I think he retired that skit.
Yeah, he did, but that's what Chris Rock meant.
What he means by that.
That's what he means by that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
He's the guy who robs your place and then shows up. Heard you got robbed.
Yeah, that's how Chris Rock means by that. Because what else does he mean by it? What does he mean that he's blacker than most black people? Then he would have said he's blacker than most black people. But he meant he said it like that's he said it derogatory.
But I was gonna say one quick last point here.
Yeah.
It was just the whole Louis C.K. surrounded by people who were saying, hey, yo, you should laugh with us, kind of shit like that. Remind me of the story back in the days when I used to work at McDonald's.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, so I'm coming down and I'm over here. My white coworkers, who one of them was my mentor, one of them was trained me, people that I had affection for. Like I thought they were great people.
Yeah.
Coming down the stairs and I'm overhearing them talk about one of our black manager who was giving them instructions. And this dude comes out, white guys, right? One guy, he says, he's telling me to do this, and then in my head, I'm telling him, come on, man, you're from the jungle. How am I going to listen to he didn't use the word monkey, but I'm going to use he must just as well say a savage from you who doesn't know shit about technology and blah, blah, blah. Yo, they laughed their head off till they saw me. Bro, I was fucking hurt. But then I heard one person goes, we love you, B. You know what I mean? We love you, B.
Oh, fuck off.
And I walked away with a smile because to me that translated like, hey, you better find this shit funny or this job is going to be way difficult. Yep. That's how I interpreted the whole thing.
Well, see, that's censorship right there. Like, think about this. Whenever they talk about Louie C.K. is being censored, they have a light definition of censorship.
Yes, which is why I proud myself to never ever do that again.
Motherfucker, you can't even use your government name on this podcast because you could lose your job talking about race, talking honestly about race.
Right, exactly.
And they talk about censorship. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's pretty much it. But I was so, fuck, dude. I wanted to, a different me would have been, chick. That's a shake them all. Black Dynamite kicked their ass for it. But I remember, I only let it slide because I was like, well, they're finding it entertaining. They're having fun. I'm not going to be that guy who's going to interrupt their fun. Even though I was deep down, I was like, fuck, I thought we were cool. That's
the worst shit on the planet, man. It's like I said, it's that me wanting to play the Batman game and showing up and the guy had the Confederate flag on his wall. It's just like that's the level that we have to deal with. That's white privilege, right? They don't have to deal with. They can just walk into a situation like that, and it's like that's never going to be an issue.
Yep. Yeah. It's funny to you, but not to me.
You know what the lesson is there? Don't put anyone on a pedestal. That's the lesson with Louie C.K., Kevin Hart, Bill Cosby. Don't put anybody on a pedestal. Nobody's worth it.
Don't put anyone on the pedestal.
Mm-hmm. Nobody's worth it.
Especially R. Kelly.
Yeah, and your boss. Your bosses are shit.
Yes, well said. Yeah. No, that's a pressure. I'm trying to recite a rap lyric, but it's early for that shit. In
conclusion, I just don't. When comics talk about it being censorship, I think that kind of it's just such a myopic way to look at this whole situation because no one's being censored. No, he's not. He can do whatever. He's going to do another show. This is
right.
People are allowed to be upset. That's life. That's life. And you can make fun of those people for being upset. I get that, but.
Yeah.
The offended of the offended is a whole industry now. That's become that's what I'm like when they came out with like is it cold outside or is Santa Claus or they would try to make Santa Claus. It's like who's doing this? It's an industry of people who can make money. That's why I think H&M when they came out with the monkey in the jungle shirt thing. I think they do it on purpose. I think it's it's an industry.
I was gonna say dance for like they give you the cause for outrage and then it's like dance for me monkey.
Exactly. Capitalism loves nothing. The system loves either way the rapist and the raped. They love everybody. They love the oppressed. They love the oppressors. And whatever they can sell money to, whatever they can create capital out of, it's good. It's good gain for them. Louie C.K. is now another form of capital. He's not a comic. He's another form of capital for the industry to make money. Even comedy clubs going to be able to make money because there'll be people who will go to the club and people who will be outraged by it. But again, the machine keeps turning. The machine keeps getting clicks, keeps getting hits. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Fuck that. Yeah. I'm not going to go to a Louie C.K. show. Just because I'm not, just out of the possibility that some dude with a MAGA hat might be sitting beside me.
And I always love how they have to have a baseball hat for their political opinions. It's that simple. If you could put your political opinion on a baseball hat, something's wrong with your political opinion. It's like, oh fuck, like the shittiest hat of all intelligence is that's what you're putting it on. Okay, all right. I guess we'll call this one done.
Yes, first one of 2019.
The first one of 2019. All right, it was a bit long, but we did it. Okay, thanks guys. See you next week.
Tell them to share their comments on our Facebook page or
on Twitter, MRD Podcast. Yeah, you can find it. Yeah, MRD Podcast on everything. It's MRD Podcast, Instagram, Twitter, and Master Race Debaters Podcast on Facebook. Yeah, do it. Okay, bye.